industry is in flames, and from the ashes emerge the Hate Bit Podcast.
Two, three.
Whew. Almost didn't make it in time, I tell you. Fans, I apologize. I was kind of running late. You know, I want to know, what's the point of being an ad revenue whore if you can't even get your limo driver to get you places on time? Welcome to the Hate Bit Podcast. I'm Yale Chaos. Joining me as always, Alpha Omega Sin.
2D fucking fruity should in fact be the new Ben & Jerry's flavor, and if you're not aware, then watch Devil's Rejects. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you because you haven't watched it, and House of a Thousand Corpses because that's also good. Anyway, that's enough for sponsorship.
The very wealthy Sainted Magnus.
Dun, 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 dun. There we go.
And the infamous Razor Fist.
Hey yo, it's Razor Fist Ramon, having just completed my heel turn.
You've done a heel turn. I'm going to do a heel turn on your nuts. Seriously.
Yeah, well, they pay good money for that down on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, yeah, they do. And in Germany. And in Germany.
Dude, you have to wear stilettos. Don't act like you can just do this in regular sneakers.
Yeah.
No, I'll do it in I don't know, pair of New Rocks maybe. That might
Well,
work.
I'll have to borrow your spiked pumps, Sainted.
Oh, right. They're called golf shoes.
I thought we buried those with sensational sharing.
I thought they did as well.
Yeah, well, we also buried a lot of drugs, but that's another story for another time. Welcome to our show. We got a great big show for you today. Getting towards the end of Season 3, so we're going to take all the chances we can to plug the fuck out of the great big live stream. Pissing in the live stream number 2, June 14, 2013, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure and be there. It's E3 weekend, and we're going to have a little bit of a cross-promotion with Alpha Omega Sin going to be there on location in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for the Too Many Games Expo. Isn't that true, Alpha Omega Sin?
God diddly damn straight I will be there. And I'll be on location at a hotel room because, well, they have Wi-Fi there, so fuck it, why not? And the only reason I'll actually be able to do this is because Yo Chaos is kind enough to send me a copy of Windows 7 because the laptop doesn't have an operating system on it, and it desperately needed one.
Thanks,
yes.
man, for sending the feds after me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch going on, and please make sure and be there. We're going to have a great time. But now, the moment that each and every one of you has been waiting for. It is time for the Microsoft Xbox One Damage Report. And, a lot of things have been said. A lot of things been taken out of context. A lot of things retracted. So we're going to try and get down to the nitty-gritty of what we know for certain, which is not a lot. So we're going to do a lot of speculation, and we hope you sit by. Get yourself some popcorn and enjoy the show. Razor Fist, you know a lot about Microsoft, don't you?
Oh, a little bit. I think there was a small hubbub over my channel.
I heard something about that. What are your feelings? Can you lay it out for us? Because you watched you actually made it through the conference. I became sick to my stomach, and so I didn't make it as far as I'd like.
When it's only like an hour long. Jesus
I know.
Christ.
Well, you know, you look at Yosef Mehdi and then you tell me otherwise. But you completed the conference. Lay it on me. Your true feelings.
All right. Well, I think first off, it was utter shit. All right, and I said this in my vlog. I think it was a terrible
Shameless
fucking
plug.
conference. Shameless plug. They fucking. I mean, flat out. I think the worst thing they did, and I think I actually think Chaos, you were dead on about this, talking about the TV box thing. It was bullshit. They wanted to position this as your all-in-one box. But more importantly, they wanted to position this as the machine for the future. They even used the word future-proof like 3 times during the course of this fucking press conference. And yet, they hitched their wagon to television to make this point. Television, the dying medium, the medium with ratings that have been halved over the past 10 years. We're going to make this a TV box, and that's how we're going to go to the future. This is fucking bullshit. Packaging an Xbox One with a fucking, as a TV box, it's like packaging DVDs with fucking Betamax. It makes no fucking sense. It's the stupidest possible fucking move they could have done. Another thing I didn't like, I mean, now granted, I'm not as hard on them for not showing games because they were less than a month away from fucking E3 anyways. I think E3 is going to be all games for them. But they did show a new game from Remedy, which was cool, even though it was a fucking live-action trailer that doesn't tell you fucking anything. But
Dude, that shit made no fucking sense. I swear to God, it looked like they were showing 3 different things all at the same exact time.
None! It made no sense, and I'm so fucking sick of live-action trailers, you have no fucking idea. But at least it's cool to know that the people who made Alan Wake are making a new game, and that's pretty fucking cool. They announced 15 new games, 8 new IPs, but didn't actually show any of them. But I think the biggest fucking mistake they did was hitching the fucking thing to the TV, because what a brilliant new emerging technology that is.
That's been about as emerging as, I don't know. Somebody come up with this simile. I'm pretty much exhausted after this.
Well,
season.
the one thing that I came away with it that really struck me is that, they couldn't get you to get into Kinect and get into using a Kinect, so they had to make you use a Kinect.
So they're just going to slap it on the fucking machine.
Yeah, and not even so much slapped on, but that the way, the thing is designed, supposedly, now this is just, see, for me, I think what Microsoft was trying to tell us, because I don't really know who this machine is for, because if you take the whole thing into consideration, this is designed, well, not just that, but this is designed, this is going to be like the new Neo Geo, the rich man's console. This supposedly super powerful machine, but all the while super powerful machine that's supposed to learn about you and supposedly have facial recognition and can monitor heart rate so it knows who's in the room and who's using what. And
Dude,
then
it's the creeper box.
It's absolutely.
It's a
And
flat-out fucking creeper box in the bushes.
I think what it is someone told Phil Harrison, hey, Kinect is really stupid and it's a gimmick. So he said, I'll show you. I'll slap it onto a machine. That'll change the fact that it's gimmick. And I got some bad news for you, Phil Harrison. It's a fucking gimmick still. It's just a gimmick slapped onto a fucking machine now.
I don't think it's really a gimmick. I think it's now an opportunity so they can learn about you and then they can sell your fucking information for advertising purposes. That's how they're going to close the gap in their budget.
There's something really fucked up about that. Quite a while back, Microsoft had patented something specifically for themselves, and in conjunction with the Kinect makes it really fucking creepy, is that they're able to go and register, the whole facial recognition thing we're already well aware of, but not only can it register you, but it can register everybody that's in the room. So if there's people that are going to go play a game, it's going to ask them who they are, and it registers their information into it. Now, the fucked up thing that comes into play, there was a patent that they had not too long ago where it's, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's something per play, or per view, or per play, where basically if there's too many people watching a movie, for example, that you get on the Xbox One, which, as we all know, they're fucking working their junk over it being a fucking TV. If there's too many people watching something, they'll then want you to pony up additional money, because that's the same as sneaking people into a movie theater, according to them, which is just fucking terrible, terrible shit to hear, because, well, if you're trying to sell this as a set-top box TV all-in-one machine, and then you're going to hinder the experience even further, and you're trying to get this at mass appeal beyond the fucking just regular gamer crowd, that's going to shoot you in the fucking foot. And again, it's just creepy.
Yeah, they're going for way too wide of a market, and the market is shrinking, and they're getting desperate. So they're trying to, I mean, Jesus Christ, did you one of the things that really struck me, did it not strike you, was when not Phil Harrison, but the guy with the fucking shaggy haircut, the douche. Anyways, he was on
Matthew
stage.
Lillard?
Yes. he was on stage and he was talking about the thriving video game market. He's like,
Wow.
This is the console to capitalize on the thriving home console market. Which that he could say that with a straight face is just fucking hilarious. I mean, that to me kind of encapsulates what the Xbox One is all about. They're going to, if their thought process is, if we just don't acknowledge that everything is going to shit, maybe it won't be. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
Well, I think the really bad news, and a lot of people, we got to air this out. We got to get this out in the open. The first thing I saw was, Sony stock shoots up as Microsoft stock plummets. and it's because of the PlayStation 4 because it sucks. That's not why. Okay, I think a lot of people who trade in stock, people who know about money, understand that what Microsoft did over the course of that conference was explain their plan to dominate a room that most people don't really spend their time in anymore.
Yep.
The living room is not the not the mecca, not the the entertainment mecca it once was. Now we're in an area of personal screens. I'm not saying that people don't. If you watch a TV, that's your own business. That's fine. But that is a waning market, and just because you keep saying it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, between Netflix and on-demand television and YouTube and the like, I mean, it's just television has never been less relevant. And now you're going to turn this into a TV box. Now's the time to do this. No, if you had released this in 2001, maybe you would have had some success with it. Now, not so much, guys.
But even if they did release it in 2001, internet connection speeds weren't that great at the time, so...
Yeah, and that's the problem.
It sounds like
also.
I'm defending it, but it's the whole idea of the technology of streaming TV nowadays is there's no point. Really, to be totally honest.
And the streaming, the streaming video games thing for the Xbox One. Now, I'm not crazy, right? Like, I recognize, like, you guys, are you guys aware of, like, how bad America's internet speed is? Like, we're, like, one of the worst, we have some of the worst internet speed in the world, apparently.
Well, because we have more people who never fucking leave the house than any other country.
Yeah, apparently we just have really, really bad internet speed. And, of course, the online game streaming, which is, the cloud gaming, that is one of the big selling points of the Xbox One that they shoved down our throats over the course of that hour. Yep. It's only going to be available in America. So at least at launch, it's only going to be available in America. The one country whose internet speed precludes it from being viable.
Well, look at OnLive. A few years ago, that thing was an absolute mitigated failure. That nobody took to it. Nobody used it.
Yeah.
There was just all the games that they had on there were either last year's games that were pretty much redone for that year, or not really worth playing anymore. And the graphics were absolutely fucking terrible because this, how much demand it had, in terms of streaming on the internet.
Yeah, and they're saying now that the Xbox One they're going to update the hardware remotely, right? They're going to it's completely future-proofed because no matter how weak the hardware in the machine is, which it is incrementally weaker than the PS4's, at least the specs that we've seen. We know that Sony has a history of over-reporting and under-delivering. But, like, at least as we have it now in hard numbers, the Xbox One is a less powerful console than PS4. So it's like they're trying to future-proof their console by saying, well, we're going to update the hardware in the cloud. So you can have better graphics than the PS4 in theory if you decide to cloud game, which we're already hearing now that they're backpedaling from that apparently that's not true. Apparently they've overstated what they're willing to do hardware-wise to update the games. And it's ridiculous, too, because if you think about that generates a huge clusterfuck. Because think about it. When you release a game on a console, Xbox, PS2, whatever, you have the specs, and you know what your game has to, fill. What are the odds that someone is going to release, like, a cloud version 2 game? You know what I mean? Because now you've got these nebulous, like, hardware specs that are off in the cloud somewhere that don't correspond to a console. Like, what are we even going to call these games? I mean, they're going to be on Xbox One, but you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be for a different kind of hardware. So you're going to call these, like, version 2, version 3, version 4? It turns into a huge clusterfuck. It's completely confusing. And the last thing you need to do right now when the market is imploding is confuse the consumer. Because that's what Sony did with the PS3, and look where they went.
And this is why I believe the Xbox Infinity was a better name, because apparently it's just going to be infinitely changing.
Well, the thing is, they don't want to confuse the market that they're going after. They're going for mass appeal. And guess what? Mass appeal means that you have to be bare bones basic to the fucking point up front with the title. Yep. Like, you can't expect them to fucking read further into it, because you have fucking parents and old people that you're trying to go and cater to, and then, you're also going to rile in all the fucking, like, bro box fans or whatever the fuck kind of audience that they're going after. But the thing is, the whole cloud whole cloud thing, I've primarily been absolutely fucking like giving it the finger for the sheer fact that I already see right now what an all digital age can do. While it's very convenient for me to be able to go online and download something, when I get a digital copy that is saved on my desktop and I can keep there forever and ever and uninstall it and reinstall it however many times I want, what the fuck ever. But with something like this, where say X publisher goes and publishes X game. Well, X game didn't fucking do that well. Well, X publisher can't afford to keep that game up there anymore. X publisher pulls that game. Now X game doesn't exist anymore. And they can also go and patch things so that it just doesn't fucking function. And I just don't like the fact that there's like all these fucking walls being built up. And a lot of people like Microsoft over a company like, say, Apple. Apple, it puts you inside this little closed-knit fucking bullshit wall and they keep you in there. Well, Microsoft's doing essentially the same exact thing. They're taking away all your options. And people are fucking like smiling at this. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you want more options. They're giving you less and telling you it's more. It doesn't fucking make any sense. It's
yeah,
just,
exactly. And they're making it even more impenetrable. You can't, because like, perfect example is that cloud gaming thing. You got, okay, if you're going to have different configurations, different hardware configurations for different games that are coming out later on down the line, now what you're doing is you're taking a niche market, which is cloud gaming, which, oh my god, if there was ever a niche market, it's cloud gaming. Nobody fucking does it right now. It's such a preposterously minuscule percentage of the overall gaming population. You're taking a niche market and you're making it even more niche. Okay, we're just going to release a game that's only going to play on hardware that's remotely controlled from a fucking cloud studio somewhere. It's just the stupidest fucking idea you possibly could have come up with. It's incredibly dumb.
So essentially, the idea, it seems, is going to be a virtual console within a physical console.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god.
Which actually isn't actually in the console.
Yeah, they're slapping it on live on the Xbox One.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I usually keep up on this stuff, and I'm confused as fuck. I don't even understand what they're trying to sell me now.
Well, the thing is, it gets even worse. Okay, let's go and take the whole fucking cloud out of the equation. The fact that you're getting a game that's technically just an installation disc.
Yeah, exactly.
Your game doesn't fucking do anything. It's a coaster. That's really it. Yeah. You fucking rent that disc. And that's really all. And the fact is that when those fucking servers shut down, okay, for them to have the fucking balls and audacity to say that it's future-proof, you already know for a fact they're not going to sit there and support dated hardware whenever, 7 years down the road or whatever amount of time that they decide to go by whenever they bring out the new Xbox, whatever the fuck. They're not going to keep supporting that. We already know that. That's not what hardware companies do. Because they're not making any money off of the dated stuff that they're no longer, manufacturing. So why fucking bother? And everybody's going after the new shit. So all those little installations and all this cloud gaming and all that stuff, it's going to do jack diddly fuck all for you. You won't have a game console anymore. You have a big fucking overpriced paperweight. That's it. And it can't play anything that you own anymore. So what about that?
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's, look, this is a problem we already have and are experiencing with Xbox One, right? And by Xbox One, I mean the original Xbox. And that's another Xbox fucking Prime? Annoying, that's another fucking annoying thing, is that now I have to go around calling the Xbox One the fucking original Xbox, and my head's gonna explode. But, we already have that. Halo 2 servers taken offline, fucking, downloadable levels that you can't get for games that you own and shit. Then there's features that are actually advertised on the game box that are no longer viable. So does that constitute false advertising? No, I'm sure there's some kind of, there's pages and pages of legalese and fine print that excuse why that happens. But you know what I mean? The end result is the consumer loses even more rights. And Xbox One is throwing their lot in with that even more. And if there's any one thing that really concerns me, it's just how much consumer right, how they're just trampling all over consumer rights essentially with this console.
No, they really are. And the thing is, when I've brought up like some of these notions to other people that are very pro for the idea, and I give them prime examples, I'm like, okay, well, last gen and this current gen, it's happening right now. There are games that you can no longer play anymore because they shut the fucking servers down. They aren't there anymore, and people don't realize. You think that Microsoft's just putting them up there for free? No, that's a fucking spot that they pay to have. They pay to be able to put their fucking game up there, and they have it up there for X amount of time. And then they have to go and make sure that they pay again to keep it up there. Then there's all sorts of licensing fees. There's fucking copyright fees that they have to go and keep up with. Do you think that's going to be there forever? Fuck no. Yeah. And everybody's just like, oh no, it'll be okay. It's all future proof, right? We were told that. We were told it's future proof, so it automatically is. No, it fucking just got to wrap your head around it. And also, yes, the fucking name Xbox One is extremely confusing. There's going to be old people out the ass going to GameStop and fucking saying, I want to get is it the first Xbox? I thought that already came up. Is this the third, fourth one? Why is it called One? And I feel bad for, if anybody's listening to this right now and you are going to be in the game department at a random fucking department store, or you work at GameStop, my condolences to you, because you're in for a fucking smorgasbord of headaches.
Yeah, assuming your store is still open, if these used game fee rumors are true.
Yeah, true.
That'll be fun, and that's one of the things. Like, one of the things a lot of people didn't fucking bring up was GameStop stock went directly into the shitter after the Xbox One reveal. Directly into the shitter, because
and GameStop's already got some problems.
They have an insurmountable fucking mountain of problems. And if you go into a fucking GameStop right now, which if you go in at least the ones around my area, at least 1/3 of the store is dedicated to shit like tablets and fucking smartphones. So you can already tell that they're fucking like quaking in their boots and hoping that they can find a way out.
Yeah, they're absolutely looking for the escape hatch at this point, and it's sad because, like we've talked about in the past, like the easiest way for GameStop to regain market share would be to take back the market that they abandoned, that is being taken up by businesses like Half Price Books and Bookmans and the like, where they need to go. You can't go halfway with the retro gaming, and right now GameStop has one little foot in retro gaming with, maybe they carry GameCube games, possibly.
Maybe.
Depending on your store.
If you're lucky.
And then mostly it's just all new games. And that's not sustainable in this present gaming economy. They really need to take back the retro gaming market. If they're gonna do it, they have to do it right. They have to go all out like Half Price Books and have fucking NES and shit.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to go dig up some fucking landfills then.
Yeah, because that's what GameStop used to be, if you remember, back in the day. I mean, you walk into a GameStop, you could buy an N64 game for $1.50.
Absolutely, and now they're all in a fucking trash somewhere because apparently that's how corporations work. I don't know.
That's okay. I understand that this isn't Xbox One related, but it's just one of those fucked up things. And people always wonder, why do you hate GameStop? Well, it's because of stuff like this. Currently, right now, within the past couple months at GameStop, all of their employees were instructed to do the following. Get rid of the case and manual for every single PlayStation 2 game. Get rid of the case and manual for every Nintendo DS game. Keep in mind they're still selling both of those platforms. They're liquidating them for the most part, but they're still selling both of those platforms, but they get rid of it so that it takes up less space within the store. So they're basically, and I understand somebody might be like, well, you don't need that to play the game. Understandably so, but do you really want to buy half the fucking product? Don't you want it to be your option to fucking throw it away? And I think that everybody ought to fucking really think about that. And with
we've taken away the box and the manual. With Xbox One on Live, we're gonna take away the disc. I mean, what's left, folks? Are we playing hopes and dreams at this point?
Well, they took away the fun a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and they've already started taking away the controller. So.
No shit. Well, let's badmouth GameStop for one more second. I'm not really pissed off at the company. I'm pissed off at these fucking rubes that are that don't mind getting someone else's nasty ass game and only saving $5.
Yeah, that's something that's always killed me. $5 fucking cheaper. Just buy the new game and give the fucking company the proper support. People are so fucking like, oh my god, I really wanted that game so bad. I've been talking about it, such a big fan. Bought it used for $55 fucking dollars.
And now you've forced the plagues in your house.
Yeah, and the worst part is, they probably gave the crackhead that handed that in, a pat on the back and a smile.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you stole this out of the back of a truck? That's okay. They weren't tracking those UPCs. All right, let's take them all in. We're not going to ask why there's fucking shrink wrap on them. Oh, and to make it more ironic, they'll take it and use games, open them up, and then they'll take their own new games and open them up and still sell them as new. Ha ha. Ha.
Yep. Oh, and they'll take them home and play them, because checkouts.
Anyway, back to the Xbox One.
Well, the Xbox One, don't worry.
There's more. There's more.
There's more.
There's plenty. There's too much more. That's the problem.
So we all, I guess we're all agreed that it looks like a VCR. Are we all agreed on that?
Dude, you know what? Here, I'll say this.
That's what convinces me a lot of old people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
No, this thing makes a VCR look like a fucking Adonis. This thing is just a box with a disk drive.
It's a box with a slit.
If they make
skin, it's not well designed at all. It does not.
I want them to make a Betamax skin. Put a Betamax skin on it. It'll be more appealing and also get to the point.
Yeah, but
they will redesign this console inside of a fucking year. You mark my words. It'll be just like with the original Xbox controller, where people bitched and moaned about how retarded it looked, and so they changed it within a year.
Still does look retarded, to be honest.
Hey, I love the massive.
Hey, the term is disabled.
I named my dog after that controller. Goddammit.
Hey, just so everybody knows, okay, you can make fun of the Duke controller all you want, but the thing is, if somebody broke into your house, the first thing you reached for was that controller, because that motherfucker's getting knocked out like it's a goddamn fucking technological mace.
Seriously.
Well, you just wrap it over your head, and it'll have the breakaway cable, so it'll be like the Batarang.
Dude, that's like the most vicious. I've seen. Okay, I know everything about that. I've never seen them throw a fucking truck shaped like an Xbox controller, but that'd be sweet as fuck.
Yeah, the original Xbox, the only controller that doubles as a morning star.
Just put a fucking stick on the end of it and just start swinging that bitch.
The only controller that leaves potholes.
I kind of want to. I honestly feel like if they really want to save the Xbox One, I'd fucking said this. Take away all the features that have pissed us off. Give me the fucking Duke controller just for shits and giggles so I can make more jokes back. Because it makes me happy, and it's still a comfortable controller. The buttons are too small, but that's
you could call it a throwback.
Dude, yeah, it would be fucking awesome. I'm telling you. Throw the Duke controller in there.
Nintendo Wii did it. They did it.
Right?
Yeah. It would work out splendidly. Also, it'd be really awesome if Xbox One. Another thing I'd like to go and take the fucking piss out of this system for is this. If you really want to make this an all-in-one system, please allow me to be able to play Xbox 360 and first generation Xbox games, because I can't say Xbox One games because
yeah. No, with it's not an option. It's not optional here, Microsoft. You have to have backwards compatibility. When the Xbox 360 had, a failure rate like Bob Dole's Crank, you cannot be fucking running around saying, no, you can't. We're not going to support 360 games out of the box. Well, what are we going to play them on? Because we're not going to play them on a 360. My 360 will not be running in 2 years, let alone 10.
Wait a minute, Razor Fist. Gee golly, don't you know, it's all going to be on the cloud. All those couple fucking dozens of games that they actually still have the right to be able to go and put up there, and for the publishers that are still around, and for the IPs that are still relevant, they're going to have them up there. But for the other couple hundred games within the catalog, you're shit out of fucking luck.
Yep, good stuff. Good stuff, and they'll all be
stuff,
Microsoft first party, because we know the 360 is known for its brilliant first party exclusives.
None, basically.
Did that hurt to say that?
No.
It was like trying to pass a goiter.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
I figured that would have hurt your teeth coming out,
It's like if you ate a goiter and then tried to pass it later on.
So
that's an idea.
So we've talked about the control.
Like Boogeyman, who ate the goiter off of Gyllenhaal's face. Remember that?
Can I try and move this fucking conversation on somewhere? As in, onto the controller, maybe? That controller, it looks like the original controller, to be honest. Shit.
No, I think
It
I
looks
think
shit.
Chaos put it best. It looks like a Batmobile.
It's shit. It's just shit.
Well, actually, I said that about the PS4 controller, but they both
Well,
kind of look like the Batmobile.
so no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about this? To me, I personally think the controller looks pretty fucking nice. I know some people will be like, "Oh no, it doesn't," but the thing is, I think the 360 controller is fantastic, minus its D-pad, which everybody's made a note of. And the only reason I'll go and say that it's not because of fucking bandwagon jumping, it's because I've legitimately tried playing like 2D type fighters with it, and it doesn't fucking work.
It thrashes your thumb, basically.
Yeah,
Depends on the game. Depends on the game. Because I'm a big fighting game guy, and I do use the D-pad on the 360. If you play as like charge characters, I find it's a little easier than the PS3 or the PS2. And the only reason why is it's easier to pull it. It's hard to explain. Because the 360's D-pad is like it's almost like one big button, and you can kind of pull it.
Dude, it's like the old school the discs. The old school disc type.
The disc, exactly. So you can kind of pull it in different directions. So if you're playing as a charge character, for me it works. But like, I understand why people would have issues. You can't do a fucking fireballer where you can.
See, that's exactly where I had the fucking problem at. It's okay. I'm playing fucking shit like Street Fighter and Guilty Gear style games and fucking Blaze Blue and all that shit. Well, that's like reverse half fucking circle forward fireball motion and all that dragon punch motion shit like that. That just becomes a fucking nightmare after a while, and I can't use the
you
analogs.
cannot do that on fucking 360's D-pad. The fucking good luck doing a fucking doing a pile driver with Zangief.
But the new D-pad, it looks decent. And can't you turn the D-pad? I think I saw
that's
like
the previous one, I'm guessing, because it's
Is
just
it?
a cross. That's all it is.
I could have swore that I saw something where you could actually like it. What the fuck did they call it? Like a morphing D-pad or some shit. Or maybe I'm just living in a very nice fucking dream.
That was a
where everything's
third-party peripheral. I wish that had been on the actual console, but no, there's a third-party controller for 360 actually. And I'm not sure if it's Mad Catz or who fucking made it, but it's got a retractable D-pad. That's what it was.
See, stuff like that is absolutely fucking fantastic. I don't
It's pretty cool.
That's an awesome idea, because the fact is, the more options that you have with your controller, which usually is just just a motherfucking controller, the better. But
well, if you don't have options with your software, I guess you can have them with your controller, right?
Well, there is one thing that I want to go and throw out there, and I don't know if anybody else got this fucking vibe, but the new Kinect 2.0, what the fuck ever they're calling it, it kind of reminds me of Rob the Robot's eyes, and that creeps me out 10 times more, because I just imagine like the neck
looks like
of
Johnny
Rob the
Five.
Robot. Like, yeah, like I imagine like it suddenly rises off your TV, and then you see the treads come out of your fucking entertainment stand, and then all of a sudden it morphs and just starts blasting laser cannons through everything and fucking killing shit.
No,
I'm
scared.
Don't take it outside though. Don't take it outside, because if it gets struck by lightning, it will be alive, and
That's
then
95 alive.
It reminds me of a fucking being a fucking Blade Runner obsessed motherfucker like I am. It reminds me of the Voight Kampf test from Blade Runner. The
That's
fucking
true.
thing to test if you're a fucking robot. That's what it reminds me of. It's got the little the little iris on the side and shit. Oh, it's freaky.
Razorfist, did you hear about the Blade Runner remake they're supposed to be going with? And
Yeah, with the and they decided to hire the brilliant scribe who wrote the masterpiece that was Green Lantern.
Okay,
Good
to begin with,
stuff.
just the title alone of the news story, I thought about throwing my TV. So like a buffoon, I click on the fucking link because I'm like, I have to torture myself. And then it's like, and by the guy that scripted Green Lantern, the thing that Warner Brothers wants to act like never fucking happened.
Yeah.
You don't hear too often about something getting rebooted like less than a couple months after it came out. But Green Lantern accomplished that, and let's get him to fuck up Blade Runner. Fantastic.
Oh,
Genius.
God.
See, it's not all Xbox One bad news. It's also Hollywood bad news, as if there's ever any good news. But fuck it, why not?
Yeah, and Whoopi Goldberg is going to be in the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles.
Stop calling her that. It is the Predator. She is the Predator. she fucking went against Arnold goddamn Schwarzenegger, and she fucking just ran around with her fucking nuking planet bombs and shit, and now she's gonna show up in the fucking Abomination, destroying my childhood again. Yes, Chris Jericho's again, and fucking what? Oh, Megan Fox is April O'Neil. So I'm sure as shit she's gonna be wearing like a one piece, a super tight, fucking always wet yellow banana suit looking outfit with her tits hanging out everywhere, and it's gonna be her and Casey Jones fucking dry humping each other with the Ninja Turtles showing up every so often to blue ball them. There you go.
Oh,
yeah. Jacking him off with her toe thumbs. It's gonna be a good time.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if Whoopi still has like bad feelings towards Danny Glover. These are the things I wonder. But
No, she's probably
I was just gonna
too
say
old for that shit.
I think it's stranger that Ted Danson, he went from being the man on Cheers to fucking the Predator, and now you don't hear anything about him, and it's reasons like that. You don't ever fuck a weird ass alien hunter thing.
Oh, you mean
Just
the same way that like Super Mario Brothers ruined Dennis Hopper?
I thought he was kind of ruined already, but
then there was Speed.
That was more like solidifying it, I guess.
That was just a natural precursor to Speed. But speaking of the Xbox, one thing that really has to be discussed, because a lot of people immediately as soon as they saw this machine, oh well, I'm getting a PS4. No one has any reasons why they're getting a PS4. We're just mad at Microsoft that day and have been ever since. But one thing that really needs to be weighed out is which was the better conference, which was the better showing. And me, I'm going to vote for Microsoft's conference. In my opinion, Microsoft gave a better conference. Not the content, mind you, but it was more concise. It was shorter. They got to the point. Here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. By the way, you love it. Here's Steven Spielberg. They hit all those marks, and I don't know what they think a Halo TV series is going to do for video games, but hey, whatever. After the Mario Brothers movie, anything can happen. So there was that, and whereas
I think they were both shit, and I just think the Microsoft one was shorter shit.
Well, I disagree with you slightly, because the PS4. My problem with the PS4 conference was it was 2 hours of, hey, remember how great we used to be.
It was basically
at least Microsoft was kind of looking towards the future, even though it was only about 35 minutes into the future.
Yeah, even though it was actually the past with the television stuff.
With the Radiation King and all that stuff.
Hindsight becomes a state of mind when your head's jammed that far up your ass.
Well, it's just the way things are. So that's what I felt about the conference. I felt that they, got to the point. I don't think anybody was happy with the point. And then, of course, there was all the talk about Microsoft employees sitting in the back applauding.
Yeah, everybody fucking confirmed that on Twitter, and I swear to God, their faces had to have turned every single shade of red that Crayola could ever conjure in their little wax fucking dreams. It's just... holy fuck. If you're sitting there like applauding the living shit out of your own machine to build up live hype, that's not good.
Well, and I think the other point was, this is what's really surprised me about this was Wait
a minute. Wait, they got piped in cheers. Does this make the Xbox One the Goldberg of video game consoles?
Wait, no, that would make it the current WWE brand, where they put in actual reactions when people are out there fucking talking on the mic, and you can just they pan around the crowd and everybody's just in there with a fucking default expression, yet there's tons of cheering and screaming.
It makes you wonder why those people pay to get into that shit. I never understood that.
Because a lot of them are comped, actually.
Most of them, I'm pretty sure, are comped. As Jim Cornette's books will clearly show. It's a really interesting thing for me, because this was a keystone event. And, a lot of people are going to say, well, how can you say that? I'll say that because this is the first time where the media actually got together to dislike something. The same people that for the last 3 or 4 years have been, everything's great, we need to keep our jobs, everything's great. And this time it was a whole bunch of, this is bad news.
Because Microsoft fucked up the message, is what it is. Fundamentally, there is no two ways about it. They didn't articulate what this fucking thing is properly at all. At all. They said a few features that could be taken any way you want. I mean, they were even vague when they were specific. It was ridiculous. Like they were just like, oh, there's cloud, we think. They didn't explain how the cloud works.
The thing is, right now, we had talked about this before, and the fact is that if Microsoft doesn't enact some kind of damage control immediately, especially before E3, they might as well shoot themselves out of a cannon into a fucking brick wall.
Yeah.
A second time, I guess. If
they have a single brain cell between their executive board to carry a fucking electric charge, they will spend. They've already announced that brief press conference before E3. They're going to have a press conference the day before E3 to try and, I guess, scoop Sony's heat or whatever the fuck. But I think they are going. If they have a single brain cell, they're going to spend that entire press conference explaining. Okay, so here's what this thing actually does. I think that's what they're going to do. At least if they have a brain.
Well, they really need to. Oh, and actually, going back to the fucking one point that we were talking about before, whenever it came to comparing the two press conferences like back to back, it's hard for me to go and fucking say which one is better, because the reason why I wasn't all that impressed with the Sony press conference was based purely off the fact that we already knew every single fucking thing that they were going to say, and it was right on the money. Well, everything. Yeah. Everything that we had heard about, all the stuff that was in a rumor mill that everybody was like, hush your mouth. How dare you even fucking mention something in a rumor mill? Well, it turned out that the rumor mill was actually churning out fucking facts. And the only new things that they fucking showcased was that the PlayStation Move might actually be semi-useful in a fucking game creation state, which is kind of impressive. But other than that, it's still fundamentally just a goddamn fucking paperweight. And they showed off 2 random games, which, good for anybody that was fucking excited about them. But that was really it. We already knew about them. So I can't get excited about something I've known about for months, because it's just a fucking, you're just retelling me something I've already fucking told people. And the Microsoft press conference was just disappointing because it showcased, for me as a gamer, I didn't give a fuck about anything that they were showing off. The specs, I already fucking had a vague idea. And TV, I already have a fucking cable box, and I have Netflix, and Hulu, and Amazon, and torrents out the fucking ass. I'm pretty sure I'm covered on TV. And
now you can have more of it!
Yeah, it's just like, dude, you're. I don't know who the fuck it was catering to, but then a fucking light bulb went off after I got to see all the media coverage outside of gaming, where they said nothing but glowing shit about it for all the wrong reasons and all the reasons that we're fucking irritated. Well, it's really cool because it can do this one thing. Can it play games though? Because that's what the fuck we want. I have a fucking phone that can do all that shit. A phone. And as a matter of fact, it's sitting right over there. Nobody can fucking see me pointing, but fuck you. I'm actually pointing at my phone. And my phone does all that stuff. Tablets do all that stuff. Ultrabooks do all that stuff. Fucking desktops do all that stuff. I'm pretty sure they have refrigerators that do half the fucking bullshit via apps that the Xbox One is trying to say that it is suddenly cutting edge for fucking doing out of the box, assuming that you have a fucking steady internet connection.
Yeah.
So, yay, or something.
I don't know if you guys will agree with me. I think the PS4 press conference was... I think the PS4 press conference was a worse conference, but the Xbox One conference was more disappointing.
No, I'll go ahead and I'll absolutely agree with that. And and people listening right now will be like, oh well, look, we're talking about press conferences. We're talking about the amount of time, what they actually focus their time on, and stuff. If Sony would have went the route that Microsoft did with just like sticking to like the actual hardware facts and then just left all gaming up to E3, that's pretty much what we want. We want to see the machine, we want to see it running, we want to know what it can do, what features it has, then give us a whole bunch of games later on. That's all that we want. Instead we get bullshit, lots and lots of bullshit, too much bullshit.
The Microsoft conference was a whole bunch of them detailing how much they hate consumers.
Yeah. Very much.
I mean they laid it down, man. Just it was like Alpha Omegason said, more about what you can't do. And I don't know. I don't know who sat in a room and thought that this was a good idea just to spit in everybody's face right away. This is the kind of stuff you might want to let people find out eventually.
Yeah, all they needed to do really was show the machine, which thank God that's the one thing they did right. Although
True.
It was so fucking ugly afterward. I wish they hadn't.
It kind of looks like a really big Polaroid now that I think about it.
All they had to do was show the machine, show a couple games that are going to be exclusive, go on your merry way. I mean, that literally was all they had to do, but instead they sidetracked themselves. They completely muddled up the message by spending way too much time on television. They allowed these rumors to propagate instead of disproving them, and then they made it even worse after the press conference by allowing Microsoft employees and high-level ones to contradict each other openly on really big issues like used games fees and DRM and always-on connections and, you know, the spying of the Kinect and stuff. They all allowed that to get completely muddled. And that is the big thing they need to correct going into E3.
Well, you want to know what?
But don't you find it funny?
I was just going to say that's actually everything that you mentioned is kind of a perfect example of why the fuck this is a mess, is because all this Microsoft employees giving out mixed messages, it's what the Xbox One is encompassed purely at its fucking core, is it is nothing but a fucking expensive mixed message. And that's it.
Absolutely.
Sure. Well,
And that's a fucking shame.
Well, does anybody else find it interesting that they managed to tell everybody when to clap, but they didn't tell them the truth about anything else?
No shit. Well, those were Microsoft employees, so yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, exactly. Like, they couldn't get...
Oh, yeah.
You know, they knew their
if they were going to
cues.
tell them to clap, they would hand them like a pamphlet and say, hey, say that.
Yeah, like, here's why you should clap.
You could just imagine him, you know, there was a guy stood in the back of the audience, where just in front of the Xbox employees with a card saying applaud.
That was probably cheaper now that I think of it, because they might have had to like spend money. No, they had pamphlets, but the pamphlets are in the cloud. That's what it was. All right, I understand this. It's a PDF file.
Just
They had
shut
him
up,
on a
sit in the
useless
back, and say
tablet.
Goldberg.
Goldberg.
Wrong
You know,
wrestler.
but yeah, but the funny thing is, you know, and the thing that no one has really come to my aid, because the one thing that's been the driving point for me ever since this thing is privacy issues. I'm known very well in this show for apparently being very paranoid about my privacy and, you know, hating the government and so on, and that's everyone thought was my angle. But you know, a machine that, you know, is supposed to know who you are and watch you and all this stuff. Not to mention reports coming from the Office of the Federal Data Protection Commissioner of Germany. Peter Schar actually expressed his, you know, concerns with what this machine does and so on. And let's just take a second to recognize the gravity of this. The Germans said, hey, this might be infringing on people's privacy.
Yeah, the
Just
country
weigh that out
can
for a
take-
second.
When
the
was the
country
last
that
time you
can take
actually
your
listened
child.
to the Germans?
The country that did.
Yeah, the country that can take your child if you show up for a doctor's appointment and they have messed up hair.
Yeah,
They're
bullshit.
concerned about privacy.
This is the country that tried to wipe out a whole group of people, but worked first.
Naming no names.
No, nobody else. But worked them first, and then, you know, and this is coming from them. They think that the Xbox One might be a bad idea.
The thing, and that's what the fuck I was talking about earlier, with the fact that this is supposed to recognize me by face and by voice. In addition, it's going to ask other people to register themselves to the system if they want to interact with it. Okay, now I'm going to sound like...
You take this star and you sew it on your lapel.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like an old fogey here, and fuck you and suck my fucking shaft, but here's the thing. Back in my day, I used to just pick up a controller and play the fucking game. It didn't ask me questions, and if it did, I punched it in its fucking face. Now I punch it in its camera, I guess. But regardless, I don't like the fact that it needs to know who...
was?
Huh?
Nothing. Hitting things with golf clubs. Is that what that was all about?
Pixel fucker be damned. But yeah, I'm not really digging the idea that I need to register all my games to my profile. I'm not okay with the fact that I need to connect to the internet when I bought a game, register it online via the cloud, and then install it online, and then your fucking console has to connect at least once an hour out of every 24 hours. And the reason that they're doing this, which they haven't come forward and said, but I'll give you the fucking answer. And this isn't assuming. This is just fucking straight up fact. The Xbox 360 was ran rampant with fucking people sitting there modding the console, playing burnt games on it, and shit like that. And this is their way to go and fucking basically abolish that completely. And now we all know why EA got rid of their fucking online passes.
Well, you
so
know,
the celebration got cut early.
Somebody's going to work around this within the first month.
Fucking
so it
right.
doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. It's yet another case of a company like when Ubisoft did their restrictive DRM, and we know how well that went over, where the only person you wind up punishing is the law-abiding consumer. Yep. Some hacker doesn't care about this. They're going to figure out some way to send out a false, positive reading via their modem or via their modded console. It's not going to matter.
And you can do that shit with an iPhone.
Dude, the more that you tell people that you're going to keep them out, the harder they try.
Yeah,
it's pretty much like going on a date with a girl.
Isn't that how rape works too?
I was gonna say it's kind of like going on a hot date with a chick that says that she won't ever do anal. Yeah,
the hell you won't.
Like if you've got some fucking machismo, which we do have Razor Ramon Fist in the house, he knows all about it. See, it's a fact that eventually it will happen, whether it's going in dry or you fucking spit on the brown eye. It's gonna fucking happen. Yes, these are terrible analogies, but fuck you, I'm using them.
I don't really think that was an analogy. That seems more like
God, no. Come on, let's be honest here. When we think of Xbox One's DRM, the first thing you think of being deflowered in the ass. So it seems
absolutely. Well,
I just want to say the word "but" because it's funny.
Well, and I know we've talked about it for a good long while, and we thank you guys for listening. We really do. We really appreciate it. Listening to the Xbox One damage report. But now, I want to cover this real quick before we get ready to move on. But there was a lot of discussion, a lot of buzz around. And I think Yusuf Mehdi was one of them that says they expect this thing to sell 1 billion units.
No, that's actually, they expect all next-gen consoles, and it's just as ridiculous a claim, but they expect all next-gen sales to total 1 billion. Like, that means PS4 and Wii U and Xbox One, and they are huffing their own farts. There is no fucking way you can believe that. I mean, for Christ's sake, modern console sales aren't even a third of that right now. There's no way.
And the gen before that, when shit was booming like a motherfucker and was an unstoppable train, still wasn't that.
Nope, not even. No way. It's just
at bargain basement prices too.
It's another example of, if we just pretend the market is viable, maybe it will be.
All you gotta do is tell people that it's viable, and then suddenly they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it's.
Well, and also you have to take into account now. I thought this was funny. Sainted Magnus just threw this at me just a few minutes ago about Microsoft has expectations. They've been talking about they want the Xbox 360 to make 100 million units. Fine, whatever. That red ring is certainly making sure that's going to happen. But also, I just find this interesting. They now a number of people, not just Yusuf Mehdi, but says that they expect the Xbox 360 to have another 5 years in it. It's like, I'm glad you expect that because that's how long the goddamn attach rate's going to take on the Xbox One.
No kidding. The attach rate is going to be so slow for these next-gen consoles. It's fucking ridiculous. And the fact that they won't acknowledge it is just, what the fuck? I mean, look at what's happening to the Wii U. Do you think the Wii U is having a slow attach rate because it's so awful? No, the Wii U's a fine console. Actually, when you compare it to the PS4 and the Xbox One with all the DRM and the always online requirements, God, the Wii U comes out looking like a prince. But because it's goddamn, you can plug this thing in and play a game, and you don't have to be connected to the internet for crying out loud.
It's amazing, isn't it? Well, except unless you bought it day one like this dumbass here, but.
But I mean, come the hell on! It's like. There's just no way.
That's a shame. So, but overall, yeah, it's a shame. The Xbox One, it's a shame.
That's what it boils down to. Everybody wanted to see something good, and we just no.
Sainted, where are you with the soundboard? We need a clip of J.C. Denton from Deus Ex saying, "What a shame."
A shame. Certainly. I'll try and find something.
Okay, well, you work on that.
I'll work on that, considering I've not actually said anything for nearly half an hour.
I know. Now, man, come on. You gotta tell us. Hold on, because he actually didn't get his 2 cents in. Which was what are your thoughts on the Xbox One versus the PS4?
Do you want the long version or the short version?
Give us the British version.
The British version. Right, the Xbox One is a soggy pudding, basically. Aside from all the red tape and bureaucracy that's tied up with the thing, and how much you actually have to pay for it after actually paying for the fucking unit itself, to take full advantage of the features of the Xbox One. So we'll take the TV, right? Over here, that will most likely be Sky that's going to be supplying that bullshit. And to have a full Sky subscription is usually about £60 to £70.
I thought it was Skynet, actually.
Yeah, it might as well be.
That's Google.
Yeah, that's Google. But, so times that by 12, you got a lot of money.
Lots.
Yeah. Tied to that, the yearly subscription that you have to pay for Xbox Live anyway. Mm-hmm. Then you got to take into account, I don't know, maybe you use Netflix, or you use Love Film, or you use Amazon's own fucking streaming services or whatever. You're going to be paying out of the arse just to have a console that is pretty much going to be a paperweight by the time you've actually got around to playing a game.
Yeah, I can only imagine from the British perspective. They lingered on the NFL for so long, and on television, which is handled totally different in Britain. The whole television system is totally different. You need a license and shit.
Yeah,
I can only imagine this really feels to me and I'm American. I can really feel this is they're just kind of saying, okay, fuck the rest of the world. We're just going for America. Fuck this.
Yeah, let's not focus on people who have money or anything.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 did pretty well in Europe for a long time. It doesn't do as well as the PS3, but you know what I mean? For a while, it did dominate that market, and there's a reason for that. And it's with this console, they have totally missed the point. They're not speaking to European consumers at all.
Well, they sure as fuck aren't speaking to the Japanese either, who were borderline offended and laughing at the same time.
Well, I can safely say that it might sound like the Sony fanboy in me, but it's more like I'm just going to go out and get the PlayStation 4 because it's my console of choice for the next generation.
Why?
Why?
Just stick with your PS3. They're going to be making games for that for at least another 4 years.
Yeah, true. But I want the PS4 because there's some there's some games I want to play on it, like the new Killzone, like the new, Infamous game.
Thief 4?
Say again.
Thief 4. Thief 4 is going to be on it.
Yeah, Thief 4 is going to be on the next generation.
Man,
Destiny's
I'm
on the next generation.
I'll wait it out because my thing is I still worry about Sony. There's still fucking rumors rumbling about the fucking DRM with them and shit. And there's actually news reports apparently that they're now second guessing a lot of shit about their current system based off of all the stuff that's happened after the Xbox One reveal.
Yeah, no, we've already heard from, and now mind you, take it with a grain of bullshit because it came from Jeff Keighley. But Jeff Keighley claims that in the builds of the PS4 that he's played for stuff for GameTrailers.com, that they do have DRM, and that they have a similar used games thing.
Well, here's the thing. If they can fucking undo stuff like that this late in the game, if they can really second guess that, it makes me wonder if Microsoft is going to see, holy fuck, we have such a maelstrom of fucking angry people that are pretty much wanting our heads on the end of a spear. Maybe they can undo some of the shit. I'm definitely certain they can't undo everything because some of the stuff is just tied into the hardware and how it functions flat out. But if they can undo some of this stuff, it would definitely win over some people. Not all of them, but it would be the smartest thing that they could do instead of just sticking to their guns and being arrogant.
Let's just hope the first production run hasn't started.
No, arrogance is what got their opponents in the last generation just knocked clean out of the fucking game. So they really need to approach this with some degree of humility and say, like, you know what, we actually have some convincing to do. Because I think Microsoft, in their mind, are still on top of the world. And I don't think they realize that the ground has shifted beneath them a little bit, and that the 360 is not in the strong position it once was. It's still on top in America, but in the rest of the world, the PS3 is on top. And, like, there's a reason for that. It's because they got really lazy and rested on their laurels and lost focus with garbage like Kinect, instead of focusing, once again, on being a video game console and making more money off of that business.
Well, that's where they're making this exact mistake again. That's the reason why everybody's fucking upset about it. I wanted to like Xbox One. I want to say, damn, there's going to be a bunch of fucking kick-ass exclusive titles. You're selling me a machine that does everything but what I want it to do.
And Microsoft said, fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much. But, yeah, so, saying it, well, what is your ultimate word for the Xbox One?
Well, the Xbox One, if they can fix half of the red tape that they've actually put out about this, you know, the DRM, the cost of the console, there's going to be a lot of deciding factors, and this console race that's going to happen in the next generation, it's going to be one where they need to make sure they do things right and proper. PlayStation has to do the same. Nintendo has to really do something now with the Wii U. I'm not disliking the Wii U. I like some of the stuff that they've done with it. You know, for example, zero DRM. You can actually play a game.
The tables have turned.
Exactly. You know, people already consigned Nintendo to the history books with this new generation, but you know, look at the Wii. That was a surprise, wasn't it? You know, technology that was, easily 5 years old, but yeah, it became one of the fastest selling Nintendo consoles for a long time. So
absolutely. And look at I think the Wii U is actually in a nice position here. I think they're in a better position than people think. I think they're in a better position than Sony actually with the PS4. Because Nintendo actually, wasn't it reported this past week after the Xbox One conference, not only did Sony's stock go up, but orders of the Wii U, didn't they like triple on Amazon?
They went up by 800%.
I was going to say, yeah, it was like, 400 or something in the listing. And it went up to like number 40 in the rankings. It was quite an achievement and quite funny.
Well, but make no mistake, the entire industry is on shaky ground. So, you know, I really think that everyone's, number one, got to play the cards close to the chest, and number two, they've got to kiss a lot of ass, and quickly.
Well, Microsoft and Sony have seriously got to kiss some fucking ass.
That's not their style, though, and that's exactly the fucking problem.
Well, they're going to be eating a humble pie when they're all claiming Social Security at the end of the year.
Only going to have to. But anyway, that's going to have to do it for the 8-Bit Podcast Xbox One Damage Report. We thank you for listening. And now we got to move on with the rest of the show. We've been here a good long while, but once again, we appreciate you guys coming out. It's time for the 8-Bit Mailbag. And that's right, this week, 8-Bit Mailbag brought to you by the Too Many Games Expo in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Alpha Omega Sin, when's that expo?
It's going to be on... Sorry, I have to clear my throat here. June 14th, 15th, and 16th. And I don't know, it's retro gaming, modern gaming, it's a video game convention. Pretty much all the bells and whistles that you'd expect, it'll be there. And it's going to be my cherry popping first ever, so I get to lose my video game convention virginity, so that'll be cool.
That's a great thing. And haters, if you're listening, you got to be looking out for Alpha Omega, and he's going to be there. Make sure and give him some noogies for me. You guys are going to have a great time, and I hope you do. Also, don't forget, check us out. Pissing in the Live Stream, number 2, June 14th, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I think that's, what is that, St. Magnus? Midnight Greenwich Meridian time?
Yeah, midnight in the UK. And
well, I'm sorry.
It's a Friday night. It's a Friday night, and I've
then there's no excuses.
I know. I've made a promise as well. It's going to be the teetotal. It's going to be teetotal, as in it's going to be cups of tea.
If that's what you have to do. So anyway, it's time for the mailbag. Oh wait, breaking news! Breaking news from Microsoft. There will be no TV at E3. They will not be featuring. There will be no Microsoft featuring of TV at E3. Incidentally, there will be no TV covering E3, so it works out for everybody.
And no one will be watching TV either.
And they won't be able to show anything if there's no TV.
Wait a minute.
See?
Can we please just somehow manage to convince the people at Activision to make the dog the main character in Call of Duty Ghost to make it interesting? Because I'll be interested then.
They should cross that with like Nintendo dogs. Like you throw the ball for the
Oh
dog.
my god!
Dude.
Did you see that video someone made on YouTube where they were talking about how they made that they tried to sell swimming through water and having fish move away from you as a new feature that only next gen consoles could do.
Oh,
And
well,
somebody
that's
showed them-
okay. We were supposed to be impressed when they said there was hair on the person's floating arms and dirt under their nails, and I was like, "Holy shit, you have my money!" Just goddamn.
And they were like, they tried to sell that as a feature, and then someone edited together a clip of Mario 64.
Yeah.
And the fish
With
move
Mario
out of your way.
Andrew Wyson. Andrew Wyson. He did it. That was a fantastic.
So it's good to know that we got technology to make sure fish get out of the way.
Yeah.
You know,
There's nothing like a cod in the way while you're swimming with a gun that actually shouldn't work whilst you're underwater.
No, I can't tell you how excited I am. Most people will probably be to drop 600 British pounds on watching fish get out of the way.
I know. Yeah, 600 pounds or $900 in US.
Yeah, we don't know how much it's going to cost, but this thing's not going to be cheap. But anyway,
Yeah,
we're
I was
away
gonna
from
say,
this now.
that's like the second rumor for the price. I'll just wait until they like legitimately. I'm gonna say this: it's gonna be $500. If it's anything less than that, they're gonna be taking a hit. If it's anything more than that, we are now going to have an instant replay of PlayStation 3 coming out and $599 US, $599
Oh, man,
US.
I think honestly, $499 US is too much, and I think they will still have a Sony PS3 moment if it's $499. That's
Dude,
too much. It
I
won't
really
work.
can't. I can't
Yeah.
imagine them fucking for what specs it has, despite the fact that my desktop could still fucking crush it.
Yeah.
The fact that if what it's toting right now has to connect in the box and all that shit, that all right there is gonna be fucking money that they're gonna be bleeding, and they're gonna be desperate.
That's a mistake that is on par with the cell processor on the PS3. Definitely.
How many
The
SKUs are there going to be though? That's what you got to think about.
That is true.
Because that could be the deciding
confusing
factor.
the consumer, like I said, confusing the consumer with all the different models is a huge thing that
Well,
killed.
Look at how many variants of the PS3 there are. For the
You see how
fact,
bad this
specifically.
machine is? We came out of it and we got right back into it.
I know.
How
I
many?
get out, they pull me back in.
It's a whirlpool, man.
Right, let's go through the PS3 variants. 20 gig, 40 gig, 80 gig. Then there was the travesty that was the 60 gig that fell to bits after a week. And then they made the slim. There was like, what, 3 fucking variants for that. Then the super slim, there's more variants for that. Fucking hell.
Let's not forget all the incidentals, though. Oh, you can have an Assassin's Creed console. And
Yeah,
fucking-
the fucking
God of
50,000
War
different
console.
bundles that they have.
Mm.
The thing is that every single fucking like the 360's got tons of different versions of that too. Admittedly, one of them I actually want quite a bit because it's really pretty. But regardless, whenever you're putting your stuff out on store shelves and you just have mom and pop or fucking grandma and grandpa who know jack shit, and they're like, Xbox One, isn't this the new one? Wait. What's that one over there? Which version do I get? What is a gigabyte? Who's that?
What they
Never
should
mind, let's
do-
buy an iPad. I know what that is.
You know what they should do? They should just make Xbox One, the parent edition, where it's just everything in a box, ready to go.
Yeah, that would still confuse them because that would be an additional version. They'd be like, "What do you mean parent version? Does it take care of us? Oh, I would love that because my children don't come and visit me at all." So they would just
dick in the
confuse the
box,
shit out of people.
Medicine.
So
Good.
yes, let's try to get out of the whirlpool that is the Xbox One and move on
shit.
to
I know it
whatever our
hurts.
next section.
It hurts me. It hurts me. We got some mail here. We got mail coming to us at Gmail. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, correspondence of any kind, please drop us a line at hatebitpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, hey, speaking of the whirlpool, the Xbox One whirlpool, it's the Maelstrom. You see?
Oh.
I see what you did there. That was
Go
clever.
back to bed.
Yeah. Anyway, this piece of mail comes to us at Gmail. So, like I said, if you're curious, drop us a line. It comes from YouTube user Onionality. I assume that's how that's pronounced. And he says, a question for Razorfist and the Sainted Magnus. And he puts an exclamation point. So I guess I was supposed to say, Sainted Magnus! And he says, could you guys please explain your hate for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike? And don't worry, I'm not a fanboy. Street Fighter 4 is a bad game. I thought that even before I saw Razorfist review. I know that this game was made when every Japanese franchise got abnormal amounts of anime and sometimes ruining a franchise. But I like the music even though it has a late 90s trend of anime hip-hop. It still has execution because of the parry system. Plot-wise, you have nothing on that. And keep in mind, he goes on like this, but he wants to understand your hatred for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike.
Well, go right ahead, Satan. Explain.
Right, well, first of all, it was on the Dreamcast. And fighting games on the Dreamcast, unless you've got the Green Goblin, you're fucked, basically. And that was my hatred for it. Plus, that parry system, if you found somebody that could exploit that in such a way, it sucks out all the fun of the game.
Absolutely. No, I that would be the big thing for me too. Is the parries snap the game's balance right the fucking half. Because as soon as you get those down, you're invincible. You're bulletproof.
Yep.
And it's really sad. You know, really any attack. You know, like everybody talks about that big Daigo video, which is the real reason that game has any audience whatsoever. Is the fucking Daigo parody bullshit. But it's like. Perfect example. He was the guy who was playing Chun-Li is and he does that super with the the super kicks or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything that you can't parry, like he parried the whole thing. He didn't have to. He was really just showing off. He could have jumped out of the way if you watch that video. It's like you're basically bulletproof no matter which way you slice it. If he hadn't parried every single one because the parry system is broken, he could have just moved out of the way because of the other big reason why I hate Third Strike, which is that it's slow as shit. It's incredibly slow. And it's because they did this thing where they were animating more frames to try and make it look more fluid. And it's true, it's a beautiful game, but holy fucking shit, is it the slowest game aside from Street Fighter 4. It's incredibly slow. And I just don't like that. I mean, the old school Street Fighter games were slow, but that's because they were older games. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They've sped up since then.
I've got one point to add to that. And
What's that?
The one problem that it had was that Street Fighter Alpha 3 was out on the Dreamcast. And
Absolutely.
it fucking owned.
Yeah, it did. It owned on PS1. It owned on Dreamcast. It just Alpha 3 is a better game in every single fucking respect. There's no reason to play Third Strike when Alpha 3 fucking existed. And that's another thing. Alpha 3 had everything Third Strike didn't have, including, and this is perhaps the most important point, the roster. Third Strike's roster is weak as shit. If you're not playing as Ken or Chun-Li or maybe you can make Akuma work, you're fucked. You're done. Because nobody is... I mean, you watch Third Strike tournaments, you don't see many Necro players, folks. You know, there are people who specialize in Necro, but they're not ending up in the top 3 at these tournaments because you can't. Because Chun-Li and Ken are so fucking broken in that game. The tiers are completely skewed towards the original Street Fighter characters in that fucking game. So it's just poorly made. It's just flat out poorly made. They threw all these new things, the fucking parries and whatever, and they didn't really think about how it was going to affect the game.
It's a cash cow at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it killed the franchise. Everybody wants to talk about how it kind of spearheaded the Renaissance, but it also put the nail in Street Fighter's coffin. There's a reason Third Strike was the last Street Fighter game for a really, really long time.
And then we got... But another, as far as 2D fighters go, you couldn't get any better than the Alpha series, because the Alpha series, as we mentioned before, has the actual roster. It has all the modes. It has pretty much... The animation was perfect on the Dreamcast version. The Dreamcast version is the definitive one. And even, dare I say it, even the PSP one was really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Alpha 3 Max, the only thing that kind of held it back was the control, which was fixed later on the PSP. But, that's the main thing. Like, you've got every character you want on Alpha 3. It's a faster game. It's more balanced as long as you don't touch V-ism, because V-ism is snapped in half. Every bit is broken as the parry system in Third Strike.
Yeah.
But then you've also got the new characters. I mean, you had brand new characters that were created, Junie, Julie, all those fucking people, Armika, whatever. So it was a step forward, and it was acknowledging the past of Street Fighter. It was faster, it was more intense. It was everything that was great about Street Fighter 2 to the nth degree, basically.
And it just rules. So that
It
answers
does.
that question.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. Shit, you guys actually wrapped that up a lot faster than I thought you would.
Well, it's simple. Third Strike sucks. Alpha 3's better. There we go.
And it still took 7 minutes. Well, we appreciate it, and I'm glad you did the work you did. We got more mail here, actually. We got mail, and I'm sorry, guys. Thank you. We got mail here. We got mail coming to us at the YouTube inbox, and this comes from Samtron75V1, and Samtron says, "Hey guys, hey."
Hey.
As one of those 16-year-old kids who watch your show quite often, I wanted to ask, what exactly do you guys think about the younger generation of gamers? I've heard you mention it in passing a few times and would love to hear your opinions on it in full. Thanks for the podcast, guys, and keep up the great work. Well, Sam, you want to know my feelings? You're a bunch of fucking suckers.
I think they should actually put down their Xbox 360 controllers, go down to a swap meet, or go down to somewhere where you can find an old Genesis or an old Super Nintendo, tune that fucker in on an old CRT TV, and just play
What the
that
hell
for
is
a few
that?
days. Yeah, it's that old big silver brick that used to sit in the corner of your room. They should actually play some older games, proper older games, and play it till they complete it.
But the graphics are so terrible.
Well, it's not about the graphics; it's all about the gameplay.
No. It's about technology. It's about how great the graphics are. I would like to have some sort of regard for the younger generation of gamers coming up, but these are the kids that I was talking about earlier. The ones that pay, that buy someone else's nasty ass used game and save $5 and wonder why GameStop has tried to dominate the planet.
Yeah, true.
Alpha Omegason, don't you hate the young kids?
The only ones that I really hate also kind of just remind me of the adults that I hate just as much. And it's the mindless dribbling ones that think that they measure their dick based off of what fucking preferred machine that they have, i.e. fanboys. I can't fucking stand it. I hate graphic whores who think that first generation Xbox 360 game suddenly looks like absolute trash and you can't play it anymore because it's now 2013. So suddenly that game just hit its sell-by date or something. And I just want to crush their goddamn fucking throats with my boot heel. So, yeah. But other than that, I have no problem with it. I'm always happy if somebody's like, I'm such and such age, and I just got them playing, I don't know, fucking Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger. I want to high-five them and fucking buy them a beer. Yes, because they deserve a fucking beer, by the way. I'm a good parent. But, the thing is, genuinely, I really don't give a shit what age somebody is, because anybody can be a stupid little fucker not and get
shit heels
uppercutted
come in all
right the
sizes.
fucking taint. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No,
That's
go
it.
ahead. Oh,
They all people suck. There you go. I just try to sift through all the shit and find the good ones. So yeah.
I give the newer gamers a lot of credit. Actually, I think they have a lot better taste than people give them credit for. Like my younger cousin Marcus, he's like a little, he's a lot younger than me, like at least fucking 10 or 12 years or so. He's a lot younger than me, and he doesn't go for like just the little kid games. He's like he goes right for the original Mass Effect. He goes right for KOTOR and Jade Empire, and he goes after the stuff that he likes. You know what I mean? And I just don't like how I think the fact is the way the industry treats younger gamers and acts like the stuff that they market towards them as if this is the stuff you like, right? Is much more offensive than what younger gamers actually like.
Well, they just seem to try and indoctrinate them at the moment with
Well, that's been
Call of
going on
Duty
since
games
we
all
were
the time.
kids, though.
I think really it's just they're talking down to them, and they shouldn't, because it's like, why? Why are we taking violence out of games? Why are we taking like sexual themes out of games? Why are we? I mean, these are things we could get away with in 1996, and suddenly we're turning all puritanical because think of the children. Well, we were children when we played these games. You know, I haven't shot up any convenience stores recently. You know what I mean? We don't have to do this. It's as long as your parents are doing their job and explaining like the context and explaining that you shouldn't do this, then whatever. You know,
Not just that, but I mean, think about it like this. We were kids whenever we were playing stuff like that. Now we're adults, and you know, we're at the age where we can be the ones making this kind of stuff. And why would we want to suddenly, you know, give them a half-assed product we want to have enjoyed when we were younger?
Yeah, they're dumbing down products to appeal to kids, and the sad part is you're going to sell more games to kids when you don't dumb them down. And yeah. I'm not even talking about like violent content. I'm talking about like just
challenge
narratively, yeah. In terms of dialogue, like okay, use a 3-syllable word every now and then. You don't have
button combinations.
You don't have to play a sledgehammer cock with a faux hawk and a fucking, you know, chainsaw gun. You don't have to do that. It can actually, you can have a Heavy Rain. A lot of little kids played Heavy Rain, believe it or not. You know what I mean? And I don't mean like, you know, they probably got the censored, you know, they probably had the parental control, so they probably didn't see any titties or vag. But you know what I mean? Like they can understand a murder mystery just as readily as they can understand, you know, a violent shooter.
Oh, dude, and seriously, like On my channel, in my inbox, I consistently get messages from people just asking, you know, what should I get into? You seem to have a decent head on your shoulders, and you seem to like things that I've never even heard of. And I'm always happy whenever it's somebody who's like, yeah, I'm like 15, and you mentioned this game from this console. I've never even had that, and I'm really interested. What should I do? Like the Dreamcast was brought up before, and I've told so many people because I got a Dreamcast collection video, and I talked about all the fucking games on there. When somebody younger is like, dude, I'm gonna fucking play that system. You know, if I brought up like Nintendo 64 or Super Nintendo, like when they're even saying, I want to go to a store and buy these games, not I'm going on to fucking like Cool ROM or ROM Nation or some fucking site. They legitimately want to go get the console and experience it how it was supposed to be experienced. And those are the gamers who I'm like, well, the future is at least going to be in good hands so long as there's motherfuckers like you. And That makes me proud. But
no, it's great. Elder Scrolls, dude. You also see it with Elder Scrolls.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people are like, I like Skyrim, whatever, and then they find out Daggerfall is free. And they're like, shit, I'm going to go back and play Daggerfall. And then they find out this game is huge, and it's awesome, and it's got some things that Skyrim doesn't have. And if they enjoy Skyrim too, that's fine. But it's like, now they can go back and play these other games and appreciate them too. Arena,
dude,
Daggerfall,
that's like
Morrowind.
With Fallout. When Fallout 3 came out,
yeah.
Everybody jumped on the bandwagon, understandably so. It's a very good game. Keep in mind my preference is still the older Fallouts, but that's just my personal pick. But there's lots of fucking kids and teenagers and shit who are like, well, Fallout 3, where are the other two? And then they go and fucking look for them and start experiencing, you know, actual history. It's just like anybody who's like listening to bands. You're getting into fucking metal. Well, of course you want to listen to the old shit. It doesn't just because it's older doesn't make it bad. Same thing with movies. Just because it's older doesn't make it bad. With books, same fucking thing. All it is another medium for you to enjoy. And when people try taking a piss on it, just depending on when it fucking came out, those are the motherfuckers. I'm like, you're not actually a fucking gamer. You're a fucking bandwagon jumping fucking piece of shit, and you fucking make me feel ashamed for even calling myself a gamer because you fucking make it look bad. Moldy.
Yeah, but that's the more religious aspects of being a gamer.
Yeah.
But still doesn't mean I can't stab them.
There you go. Very, very important. So the future is bright. I guess the future is bright as long as the corporations get their shit together and realize that not everyone's as dumb as you think they are.
Yep.
And just put it out there, if you're interested in getting into Genesis games or Mega Drive games, wherever you're from, the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Very cheap, 40-odd games on there, and you've got some Master System games on there as well, so knock yourselves out.
Here, you know what? I'll put this out there. Go onto the fucking PSN network and go under the PS1 Classics.
Yep.
There's so many good games sitting on there, and if you can't afford that shit, download EPSXE and fucking play them that way. I don't give a shit so long as you're experiencing and enjoying these games.
It's on there. God, and with Xbox Live, you got all these old arcade games. You got Golden Axe. You got Streets of Rage 2.
Dude, fucking Guardians Crusade.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some great stuff. The original X-Men arcade game is on there. I mean, fuck, dude, play these games. They are good.
The Simpsons arcade game. That's a fucking throwback and then some. Or if you really want to fucking like go balls to the wall, go and get yourself a fucking MAME emulator or find a MAME cabinet and go.
Or damn God, I gotta name drop this. I gotta. I don't know if they just released it or if they're about to release it, but Capcom is going to be re-releasing Dungeons and Dragons: Shadows over Mystara. One of the best RPG beat 'em up hybrid, branching storyline, like way ahead of its time fucking games. Like,
it's still unique to this day.
Totally.
Like, it is. It's a fantastic game. I mean, just, again, anybody who's listening to this, if you're fucking younger and you've just thought about getting into this shit, you don't have to necessarily play something just because it just came out. You don't have to play something just because your friends did. Be the fucking person who steps outside the line and pick up something that they haven't so they can go and say, wow, that actually does look pretty fucking cool. Please, for the love of God, pick up fucking Breath of Fire 3 or fucking Vagrant Story or Parasite Eve 1 and 2 or fucking anything. I don't give a shit. Just fucking play games and enjoy them.
Yeah.
This message is approved by the 8-Bit Podcast.
Goddamn story.
There you go. And that's going to do it for the 8-Bit Mailbag for this time around, and we thank you for listening, which was sponsored by the Too Many Games Expo. If I didn't mention that already, Alpha Megason is going to be there. And if I didn't mention already, please listen to us on the live stream right here on YouTube. It's going to be a Google Hangout, so don't miss it. Let me see. Before we move on. Oh, yeah, I wanted to have a shameless plug. Can I do that? Too bad, I'm doing it anyway. For those of you attending the San Diego Comic-Con in San Diego, California this year, I don't know why you're going. They stopped having comics a long time ago, if I'm not mistaken. But if you are going to find yourself there for one reason or another, you'll be able to find me right up the street at GamerCon 2013, July 18th through the 21st. Fucking A right. And you'll find me at the 10th Avenue Theater in San Diego, California.
Oh, that was
the
brilliant.
best way to
yeah,
fucking
the San
introduce
Diego Comic-Con.
That was a
I'm not
Vince
there.
Russo swerve right there.
You bet. You bet. You don't know how it's done. I mean, that's... Wait a minute. Oh,
That was
fuck. I thought...
That was totally like I expected you to throw back the hood. It was me, Austin.
Something like that. Yeah.
Austin.
So that's how that's going. Anyway, moving on with the rest of the show, we have bad news. For some of you may have heard, some of you may not have heard, but Oculus Rift co-founder Adam Reisse passed away. Just this past Thursday. Razorfist, you know all about it. Can you lament this for me? I know, sure you can better than I can.
One of the big people who developed the Oculus Rift. The worst thing about it is how it happened. He was actually he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. There was a police chase going on, I guess. Two or three gang members were being pursued by police, and he was a pedestrian, and he was about to cross the street, and the gang members ran him down right in the middle of the street. Just a horrible way to go, at 33, way too young to be passing on, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family, because that's just terrible. It's incredibly tragic, and such an incredibly creative individual finally kind of making the virtual reality concept viable
That we've been chasing for 20 years.
Yeah, after all these years, you kind of have the first big step that could actually make this like a viable, way to go forward in gaming. A much more viable gimmick than, say, 3D. And now this, it's terrible. I feel really bad for all the people involved and all the people at I forget what the name of the company is, Oculus VR, I believe.
Yeah, and it's an awful thing, especially like you said, Fest, too young. Far too young, and then for something like that, I mean, it's just terrible all the way around. So, haters, if you're so inclined, please raise your glass for Mr. Andrew Reisse. He will be missed. Yeah. Anyway, on with other news. Hey, dig this. Speaking of shameless plugs and conventions and everything, in London, there's going to be the alternative to E3, the ETOO Expo in London, England, June 10th through the 13th, organized by The Guardian. You know, those faggots that gave us all those figures about how, Wii Sports Resort and Mario Kart are violent video games. And really on top of their shit over there at The Guardian. And sponsored by Sony. So this could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Now, Razorfist, you're predominant. You for some reason are very much against the expos, aren't you?
I'm just against a new gaming expo coming out. I think
we have enough, don't we?
Hey,
The
we
last
need them.
thing we
Hey, we
need.
need them. We need them.
Does Britain tell us? Let's get it right from the horse's mouth. Sainted Magnus, do you need another expo?
We need a high-profile expo. Because every expo that we hear about is either too late to attend, or they're not worth attending.
What I don't get is if you're gonna model your thing after E3. Why would you name it E2? Why would you?
Because it's the prequel.
It's like saying that it's less than E3.
It's the origin story.
It's the prequel. It's the prequel. We have our first video game conference prequel. This is amazing.
It's the first one that's actually going to show video games. Is that what you're telling me?
Possibly.
E3 begins.
Looking at who's going, I understand that Capcom. I heard of them once. They used to make video games way back when.
No.
Back before they just made on-disc DLC.
Yeah, well, back before they would, go see their fans and slap them in the mouth with their penis. Before that, they made video games. They're going to be attending, and I understand a few smaller developers who I had not heard of, which are actually escaping me right now. The article I'm reading actually only talks about Capcom because I'm pretty sure no one else knows who these people are either. But London, you got an expo coming your way. Search ETOO and go. I don't know. I just, I mean, it can't be any worse than E3. So you got that going for you. It can't be any worse.
I have to say something though. You could just imagine the actual meeting they had when they were going to name this. It was like, what should we call it? Well, they have that thing in LA, E3. Why don't we call it E2? All right, yeah, well, let's do that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of forward thinking in Britain. Is that the case?
Yeah, generally.
Okay, yeah, you didn't realize that was a dig. Well, good for you.
Yeah. No, because I know what my countrymen can be like. So.
Oh, that's true. You know better than I do. I shouldn't knock you for that.
No.
But
I'm just saying, at least name it E4.
E5. They can't do that. They can't do that because there's a channel called E4.
Well, there was also E for All.
Ugh.
See, once again, we're talking about fucking consumer confusion. This is not going to be good for anybody.
No, and they can't call
Goddamn
it
Xbox One.
And they can't call it EE because there's a phone network called EE.
Oh man,
Well,
you're making it worse.
I know.
But so there's that. So if you're in London and you want to stop by the E2 and so Sony can propagandize to you, that's really what we're trying to get at. Go and check it out. Have a good time.
Go down to E-True Hollywood Story. Don't worry about it.
Watch the one about Married with Children. That one's really funny. Anyway, speaking of the Xbox One, and we were having a discussion about the DRM and the used games, and no one's really sure what the story is, and no one will really be clear on it. But there was a study done out of NYU, New York University. The study was titled "Dynamic Demand for New and Used Durable Goods Without Physical Depreciation: The Case of Japanese Video Games." The paper uses, essentially data collected from the gaming market in Japan to simulate the effect that the removal of used video games, what effect it would have on consumer behavior and sales of new products. And it uses a lot of very complicated algebraic equations to essentially say that if you get rid of and this is debatable, of course, because it's very hard to gauge, what consumers actually want. You can ask Microsoft all about that, and it's a really interesting thing. But the study says that it could either be really good, but it could also be disastrous, and I think that kind of goes without saying. But the Alpha Omega Sin and Razorfist were going on before the show a little bit, and hopefully they'll shed some light on it for us again about, the used game sales does help the new game sales market, does it not?
Yeah, it piggybacks on it. I mean, that's look, it may be obviously it's the used game market predominantly, but the GameStop and Best Buy and these companies that are unfortunately very near going out of business are also the primary means of physical distribution of games, which is still the primary means of acquiring games. Digital distribution is nowhere near where it needs to be. So it's just a matter, and I did a whole fucking vlog about the digital distribution and how that's not going to save the industry. But it's like, that was your cue to say shameless plug, by the way, motherfucker.
Shameless plug. It's 4 o'clock in the morning nearly, so.
I know, I apologize. But yeah, the fucking, that's basically what it is. It's also the primary means of getting the games out there in the first place, new. So.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Put this way, you take used games out of the market. Before we were talking about how if everything's on the cloud and everything's digital, it does have a sell-by date and it can go away. And that's the unfortunate circumstance of it, is that there could be, that hidden gem, which we all know that there's plenty of hidden gems out there that did not get the success or, the notoriety that they deserved. Well, if you base that on this kind of a business model, then those gems will pretty much go unheard of and disappear out of existence. Yeah. So taking that into account, that's fucking traumatizing. But also look at it like this. I can assume that everybody here at least one point in time throughout their life has traded in stuff to get stuff because they didn't have enough money.
Yes.
And I did it a whole lot when I was younger, because, I could only get a fucking minimum wage paying job. Now, I make good money at my job, so I can go out and get, new games a little more often than I used to whenever I was little. But not everybody has that. They need to trade in their old hardware to get the new hardware. But if they didn't have that option, then they'd just be shit out of luck. And that's what it boils down to, is that, you could think of it like this. There's a lot of times that a game being used, like Radiata Stories for Nintendo DS, this will just be a random example. The game was used for the longest time, had a really low print run, because that's what Atlas does. They make low print runs on a lot of their games. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that game had gotten ridiculously high in prices on eBay and they had seen that there's a large amount of demand for it, they wouldn't have reprinted the game. And if you would have went with the same exact equation with the digital distribution or the cloud model, then the game would have went up on the cloud or into digital mode, and then it would have bombed and then just get taken down. Yeah. Whereas this allowed it to, having the physical model allowed it to go and live on. And it's, I don't know. I like to physically own my stuff. I don't like to rent it for a long time. That's all that there is to it.
Yeah, basically. And look, like I said, digital is just not where it needs to be yet. And they're trying to make this big grab. Like, I think Microsoft and Sony think, if we push this really hard, maybe we'll push digital distribution over the edge. But I don't see that happening. And this economy already, like, now you've got no option. If you want to buy those games, now you can't trade in stuff to get them. And you've already got a challenging economy. And so now people who are looking at a game they want to get, they can no longer think, maybe I could trade in X, Y, and Z to get this game. They can no longer think that. Now they have to have all the cash. So now you're cutting into your own consumer base. You're saying, hey, we don't need you anymore. And you're making an already niche market even more niche. I think this is going to backfire in a big fucking way. But again, this is assuming a lot of these stories are true, which, I've been very, very critical of people, reacting to fucking stories that are, discredited 5 minutes later. Yeah. But it's just, I worry about that a lot. Just the idea.
I mean, it's something that everybody should worry about. Whether this turns out to be false or this does turn out to be true, it's something that definitely should be brought to light and it should be discussed, not just amongst consumers and gamers, but with the leaders within the gaming industry and hardware manufacturers and software manufacturers, because they need to realize that at the end of the day, you may supply the product, but we're the reason why it's even available. And we're the
Yep.
reason why it'll
Sure.
continue to be available. If you keep going against the grain, which, doing the opposite of what gamers want and trying to go for a completely different market, that's how you sink your ship. And we don't actually want that. We may rant about it, we may get angry about it, but it's not like we don't want it to fucking sink. We just don't want it to turn to shit either.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making abundantly clear what you will not accept in the new consoles.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that. And the thing that the big thing that bothers me about this, and I've been very vocal about it, is the lack of backwards compatibility. That was something they needed to have on Xbox One, and I really felt like, I think it's a little less important on the PS4, but like on Xbox One, it's really, really important. So there's nothing wrong with people being like, motherfucker, I hate this. You should not be doing this. We need backwards compatibility because my 360 barely runs now. You know what I mean? But, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're still talking about, like, people continuing to buy the systems for however long. I forget what numbers that they threw out there, but they expect the Xbox 360, after the Xbox One, hits store shelves, that they want the 360 to continue to sell and hit X amount of million units. And it's just ridiculous of the expectancy. It's like, okay, you put a system out there, it's supposed to be an all-in-one machine, and you take out the option for us to be able to do everything on this one machine, which is what you're selling it as, but you're only selling it as an all-in-one machine to a completely different fucking crowd because you think that at the end of the day, you're going to end up making more cash off of them, and we're pretty much just a tag-along, which is a shame.
For me, I'm really tired of the discussion that this idea that even after you've sold me a product, it's still yours.
Yeah.
This can go, this harkens back to, and if you're as old as I am anyway, harkens back to the 90s and probably even the late 80s, the whole used CD issue. And there were lawyers coming out of fucking Harvard doing whatever they could to get their fucking, their paycheck. And trying to sue, no, we're going to take a trip back in time, like Blockbuster Entertainment, The Warehouse, Sam Goody. You've probably never heard of these because these were called stores. I know they don't have those anymore, but
they've all died in the last 10 years.
Absolutely, but it shows people's memories are kind of short. And I really reject this idea. Just the overall idea of stealing rights away from consumers is going to boost your business model. I don't understand that because I'm gonna make an analogy here that I've been working on for a while, and everyone's gonna get on me for bringing up Nintendo, but I'm gonna bring up Nintendo.
Stop bringing up Nintendo.
Well, too bad. I'm gonna do it anyway. People commonly get on Nintendo about calling them a bad technology company, and the Wii U is not next generation. The thing that people are missing is that, and don't worry, there is a point. Nintendo is not a technology company. They're a toy manufacturer. Yeah. And that's why their technology is the way it is. The problem is Sony and Microsoft are unaware that they are also toy manufacturers that take themselves way too seriously.
Or at least they have a toy division.
They have a toy division, absolutely. And, Sony, a primary driver in their business, is their toy division, or was. And they've now since taken themselves so seriously that the idea of strangling a market to help it expand, that doesn't make any sense to me. Now, mind you, I'm not an economics major. I majored in mortuary science in college, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is this is just bad business all the way around. And, the idea that, of course, now, mind you, the study that we're reading and talking about suggests, two unlikely scenarios. One, that the used market goes away completely, or that everyone just, immediately shoots over. It's unlikely. And, there will always be used sales. But overall, I don't know. I was trying to say, there's got to be a good point in here in between what Alpha Omegas and what Razorfish were saying, but I'm stuck.
Yeah. Once again, why do you think the PS2 did so well? Why do you think the PS1 did so well? Why do you think the Nintendo Entertainment System did so well? I mean, it has to do with price. It has to do with what software you have. But you know what else it is? It's an ease. it's how easy it is to get a hold of software and how easy it is to get a hold of the console,
Sure.
and price plays a part in that. But it's like now they're making it even harder to get software because now do you have any idea how hard it is to explain? I mean, Sainted, you worked in a game store, buddy. You know what I'm talking about. When somebody would ask about 360 and how you set up a profile online, like somebody who's not initiated in gaming, like setting up a PSN ID, even explaining the basic concept of hooking an Ethernet cable in the back of the machine. You know what I mean?
But you have to dumb it down, and then when you can't dumb it down anymore, you have to try and dumb it down a bit even more.
Yeah.
And just you have to treat the customer like they're an idiot when it comes to these sorts of things. But the way they kind of push people away when it comes to trying to make things easy to use. But it's not easy to use because, right, we'll pretend to set up an Xbox Live account. You have to sign up for a Microsoft-specific bloody email address. You know, it has to be an MSN or a Hotmail account or something that Microsoft owns. Then on top of that, you got to pick a name, but then they're like, pick a name, so you put your name in, but no, you can't have that. You have to put in a username because some other fucking arsehole has already took that name that you use normally on every fucking account. There's just so much, there's so much bloody headaches that you have to do just to do one simple thing.
Yeah, and now they're making it even harder by saying, oh, digital.
Yeah.
Go away, used games. We don't need you because now we can do it all digitally. Do you have any idea how hard it's going to be to explain to a grandma or to anybody walking into a freaking store? Well, you see, you have to hook it up and then set up your profile, and you have to have an email address, and then you have to go to this, tab on your browser, and you have to go here to the used games section, and like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you joking? You're gonna make it this fucking impenetrable? And that's just if they try to get rid of used games entirely. If it gets even more complicated, arguably, if you have used game fees. You know what I mean? Because now you got a whole other, hill of beans to deal with after you've hooked up your console and whatever. It's ridiculous. Like,
yeah, you gotta buy something so you can buy something.
It's hostile to the consumer, just the same thing we're hearing with everything else.
And this is why whenever gaming goes fucking tits up, we've still got PC, we've still got cartridge games, we've still got early CD-based games, and believe it or not, some of them still work quite well. There we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. And you could always go home and play Monopoly.
Yes. There's still board games,
Yeah, those still. Yeah, funny enough, Monopoly is completely backwards compatible, and will work with used pieces and even Star Wars pieces. So that's
yeah. Play Monopoly, and you can pretend that you're running Microsoft.
Zing.
Ooh, and then you can get really high and make up all kinds of sales projections.
I think they've been high since fucking 2005 anyways.
No kidding, right? Well, anyway, that seems to do it. That's going to bring us to the end of the Hate Bit podcast for today, and we thank you for joining us very much. I want to tell you to make sure you come out to Pissing in the Live Stream, number 2, June 14th, right here on YouTube at 5 p.m. Pacific. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 12 a.m. Greenwich Meridian Time.
Just say
and
Saturday.
Saturday. And in Arizona, I think it's like 7:17 p.m. So, make sure you're there. And we hope you enjoy it. And like I said, we really hope to see you there. And also, make sure and be at the Too Many Games Expo in Philadelphia and look out for Alpha Omega and give them some noogies from each and every one of us. So, I've been Yo Chaos. Joining me as always, the amazing Alpha Omega Sid.
Let's see. Be at the Too Many Games convention or be somewhere more worthwhile and worth your time. And I dedicate my next load to all the fans. There you go.
Yay.
The very wealthy Sainted Magnus.
If I get any more wealthy, I'm going to need to get a room like Scrooge McDuck and dive into a big pool of coins. But,
and then you break your spine.
But if the reality is the same as what Family Guy did, then I'm fucked.
And the rambunctious Razor Fist.
Sorry, Chico. See you later. Godspeed.
Bang. Shut up. Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. And I'm Yo Chaos reminding you that the revolution has begun. You guys are great, and we've been the Hate Bit Podcast. We'll see you next time.